We are Dexian, in the business for good.
Requesting Mr. Firas Al Hindi to please join us on stage, which is GCC, and he'll be introducing us to the panelists. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Firas Al Hindi, Chief Administrative Officer at Dexian. I'm excited to host today's panel on GCC India, the innovation powerhouse for global capability centers. At Dexian, we understand the immense potential that India offers as a hub for global capability. India, highly skilled workforce, along with strong digital infrastructure, has made it ideal destination for businesses looking for innovation and optimize their global operation. We're proud to be part of this transformation, helping organizations establish and scale their CC while enabling them to thrive at digital age. The global capability center market in India is experiencing rapid growth. Companies worldwide are increasingly recognizing India's strategic value as a center, not only for cost efficiency, but also for cutting-edge innovation. With access to diverse talent pool and state-of-the-art technology, GCCs in India are evolving from traditional back-office operation hubs to innovation and growth, driving digital transformation and strategic innovation for business worldwide. We're fortunate today to be joined by an incredible group of experts who will share their insights into this thriving ecosystem. I welcome Mr. Srivasan, Vice President and Head of Membership and Outsourcing at Nasscom. Mr. Srivasan brings over 25 years of experience in strategic planning and business development across industries like IT, telecom, and e-commerce. He has successfully driven client business operations toward profitability and growth, particularly in the areas of business continuity and productivity enhancement. Mr. N.V. Balaji. Mr. Balaji is a chartered accountant turned advocate with 32 years experience, has a wealth of expertise in taxation, transfer pricing, and direct tax advisory. He has worked with a wide range of industries representing major corporates across tax authorities in courts, providing valuable insights for legal framework and regulatory matters that shape the GCC leadership. Thank you for joining us. Mr. Anand Venkatarayan, Deputy Vice President at HDFC Bank, brings extensive experience in the banking and financial services centers. He works in digital transformation and customer experience in reshaping how financial institutions manage and deliver services, making him an essential voice in today's discussion. Mr. Jaspreet Singh. Mr. Singh is a leader of cybersecurity at Grant Thornton. He has global background in managing large-scale transformation programs. His experience in digital strategy, business resilience, and cybersecurity is critical in ensuring a safe and seamless operation of GCCs across industries. Thank you for joining us. Last but not least, Mr. Jayan A. from JLL. Jayan is an associate professional with over 2 decades of experience in industrial projects and operational management. Currently, he serves as the head of industrial projects and regional PDS head South at GLL, overseeing large-scale projects and driving strategic excellence. Previously, he was a COO at JNF India. It's my pleasure to introduce Kumar Rajagopalan again for all of us. Where's Kumar? Kumar is the country head of India at Dexian, who will be anchoring the GCC panel discussion. With over 30 years of experience in IT and finance, he has been instrumental in aligning technology with business. Mr. Rajagopalan has brought thousands of people opportunities to work and grow in this industry, and we're glad to have him anchoring this panel. With that, Kumar, so over to you. Thanks.
Thanks a lot. Thanks everyone for joining. And I know it's like the GCC is a large topic, and especially now we are in a time like we need to wrap up things much faster than what we are expecting, because Mr. Jaspreet is about to catch his flight. But we promise you, our discussion is 30 minutes, but like we can still go for it. So as we go, I probably would start from the industry association person, because it's very critical to know about the whole ecosystem, and more importantly, for the IT and ITES and the outsourcing, offshoring, and also building the credibility with a lot of organization. Shrikant Srinivasan, my dear friend and my mentor in Nasscom, when I started my SME council. From the Nasscom side, I really wanted to understand what's the Nasscom activities related to GCC, and one of the questions everybody asks, does Nasscom formulate policies or aid government to formulate policies, and especially related to GCC, which is a buzzword? First of all, is it an hype, or is it a buzzword, or is everybody wanted to get into GCC? So your perspective, sir, it will be greatly appreciated.
No, thank you, Kumar. First of all, I think a pleasure to be here. I think good to see all the buzz here, right? I mean, it was very interesting. See, more than the hype or the buzz around it, I think it's important to know that when we're talking of GCC today, GCC is not new to India. The oldest GCC in India is about 40 years old. So I don't think it's new. For many of you who may not know, I think that the younger crowd can actually say that the first GCC in India started even before you were born. So it was about 40 years old. Texas Instruments started in Bangalore almost 40 years back. So I think from that point of view, it's been there all the while. What is even more important is, why is there a GCC in India, right? I mean, why does a company, a global organization, a global enterprise come to India? I think all of it is built on the bedrock or the foundation of three important things. First is innovation, second is the skill, and third is scalability. I think that's why people come to India, and that's how it works. Because every organization, and nobody comes and says, you know, you will not get to see a company who will say, I'll go to India and I'll have 50,000 people. Nobody says that. People will come, start small. They will kind of, you know, test the waters. They will start with certain things which are probably low-hanging and slowly expand with time. That's the way it is. And again, I will probably touch upon the four waves of how the GCC kind of thing grew, on how in the first wave it was purely cost arbitrage, and then I think it metamorphosed into a stage where people started using the work that they were doing, they were trying to develop it to the next level and started making it a more efficient process. Then came a portfolio hub, and today it's important to know that a good 30-35% of the work that's done are all portfolio hubs in the country, of the 1,700 plus GCCs who are in the country, which means the quality of work has really risen up. And of course, then there are a few more who are really transformation hubs, and that is probably about 10-11%. That's the kind of spread we have. But more importantly, I think the quality of work, the talent, and the ability to scale is the reason why, and the ability to innovate or co-create is the reason why they come to India. I would like to pause here. Yeah,
I also asked, like, what's the role of Nasscom in the overall? So is it...
So the role of Nasscom purely, I'll keep policy aside for a minute. Primarily from a Nasscom point of view, largely it is India and industry first. So GCC, in my view, is purely a subset of the larger tech industry. Our role is primarily to kind of enable and ensure growth of tech industry in the country. This industry is in its own way has come to a $254 billion industry in the past 30 plus years. So our role is that. In terms of policy, I think largely it is about working with all the stakeholders, be it government, be it academia, etc., to ensure that it is more industry friendly, to ensure, or ease of doing business as we call it, to ensure that it can be done. My view is that there is no separate GCC policy, etc. Yeah, people may create some of this, but ultimately I think a policy for the technology industry is the more overarching thing that needs to be there, and you could have a subset for anything and everything else underneath. So I would look at GCC as a subset of the larger industry.
Fantastic. And just to break the convention, I don't want to go through the others. I wanted to complete your thought completely so that like it becomes easier. Sure. So the next question is also for you. A lot of discussion about the AML, and most of the companies, when they look at the GCC, the AML is one of the prime motive why they come to India. So with the AML being a next level programming and also advancement, there are a lot of challenges which is regarded to the upskilling or skilling India. Fortunately, I was part of the Nasscom at some point of time for the skilling side of it. But the moot point here is like, how is Nasscom helping in building the skill building activities and sustaining the supply, especially when it comes to the GCC?
So first of all, Kumar, I think the demand between supply and the gap between demand and supply continues to be the same as it is everywhere. But probably it is getting better in India. And it's also, before we get to what Nasscom is doing, also it's important to note that, and I'm again quoting from a very recent report, that only in the GCC world, there are about 120,000 plus people who are in some form or the other trained on AI in the GCC world alone in the country. And that's not a small number. And even more important, there are about 185 plus COEs or centers of excellence built by GCCs in the country working on AI, ML and related areas, which means there is a lot of work happening. Yes, to your question, is this enough? The obvious answer is no, it is not enough at all. And as Nasscom, I think we have a lot of effort in going into either the Future Skills Prime program, which we run for the Government of India, which is about enabling people on emerging skills, or the good old sector skills model, which is about embedding courses in the universities, colleges, catching talent young, getting them credits to that, both of which are happening in parallel. And of course, it has got multiple courses. Things on AI, ML are just a subset of that, but we're doing both of them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Shrikant. In fact, if any one of you here near the companies, if they are not a Nasscom member, please do, because we got benefited out of Nasscom a lot. So it's more about learning from the peers and others, those who have built it, and Nasscom enables that one. Over to Giant, so it's more on the real estate side. The factors of production, land, labor, capital organization. Land is always a fixed one. We cannot expand land. It's always a difficulty. But the pricing of land always goes up. The cost of, whatever the cost which we try to bring it out, especially the labor price and other price, when it comes to the real estate, there's no control over it. And the cost can always go up. But we see during the COVID time, we thought like the prices would come down, but actually it is going up. And what you see as a market right now, especially a lot of GCCs are coming, 1,700 GCCs, and it's going to expand. And you guys are fabulously placed right now. At some point of time, even I felt that like instead of IT, the real estate market would be much more lucrative. So how do you see that one?
Thanks, Kumar. That's a great question. I think from our lens, how do I see that? I think like Rini said, I think GCC, the concept probably is renamed in the current context. I think TI is operating for the last 30, 40 years. So, but the good to see, I think it is started evolving in a better shape right now. I think from a real estate perspective, when I see, I mean, it's our office space absorptions actually on an average grows certain percentage. But if you see the GCC share of that, actually it's growing up. I think it is a couple of years back, maybe it was around 25% of the overall office absorption used to be taken normally by GCC. Now we are probably crossing even 35%. That means like, I mean, one in every 4 square feet taken is actually by the GCC players. So it has actually become the real engine in terms of driving the demand. So that makes it need a lot of attention, right? I think so. So if I see there are three, four larger trend. I think macro trend you can't really ignore. Actually, one is growth is reality. It's really that I think, and that too it is outnumbering whatever the other asset class or other specialty requirements require. I think GCC is driving it actually. So that's one area. Another one is I think you at the same time you also look for like a kind of a flexibility also, because I'm talking from a larger macro trends which is happening in the real estate, that most of the GCC firms, maybe I think they may come to India, maybe start small. They probably still experimenting or trying it out, I think. So they may tend to see, I think, can I have a space where I can keep my 50 or 100 people to start with. I think eventually they want to have maybe 1,000 or 2,000 like an Amazon or somebody. We does a lot of work with some of these firms where they host 10, 20, 30,000 of their own campuses. But now the flexibility is one trend we see. A lot of our customers come and ask that, can you find something which I can keep, start small, but at the same time, not really compromising, I can easily scale up. That's something, an interesting concept which is coming. Maybe one other point is diversification. I'm talking from a location diversification. What we see is that, while I think 3 or 4 markets, I think maybe the Chennai, the Bangalore, the Hyderabad, normally takes care of 2/3 of the seats, and other places add up the 1/3 of the seats. So the engine is still these 3 cities, but while companies say that, I think they're still looking how they can actually de-risk. I think there is an element, I think they are seriously looking the tier 2 or tier 3 cities. Can I have maybe one more hub there? I think these are 3 larger trends we see in the real estate, and certainly this is actually propelling maybe few other trends also. If you see, there is a large intake happening on the data centers, because a lot of GCC coming. I think on an average, when we are adding this much of people here in terms of the data requirement, in terms of the computation power requirement, that's propelling even data center actually has become a fresh asset class which is growing annually 25%. So these are some of the trends which you really can't ignore.
Fantastic. So while you are touching, I know it's like kind of tier 2, tier 3 cities, also people are expanding. But for a very large company, what's the trend? Are they looking at tier 1 or tier 2 or tier 3 also?
I think there's no straight answer. I think if you ask, still, I think in real estate people says location, right? I think you just can't ignore it. So I think most of the people, I think the talent still prefer to be in a tier 1 city. I think they prefer to be probably in a Bangalore or a Chennai or a Hyderabad or a Mumbai. But it doesn't mean that I think like I said, I think just reinstating the same point, I think most of their additions are happening all the tier 1. Having said that, most of the top companies is not really ignoring the tier 2 and tier 3, so they started building the backups.
Okay. And there is a talk about the differentiated workspace strategy. More so is like kind of now people are talking about it, and more so is it a strategy from JLL, or every real estate companies are doing it, or how is it? What's the funda behind that?
It's again something to do with either you can respond or you can be prepared. So most of the GCCs are large conglomerates. Some of them are well established for many years. They have their own set of, we call the playbooks, I think, in terms of what exactly they expected to have in their workplace. I think those are well defined. I think a lot of companies have written it down. So while this trend is happening, what we see is that I think there is a heavy focus in terms of the quality of the workplace, the nature of the workplace. And its workplace is not just a place where you have desk and a place to sit. I think there's something beyond that. And because eventually, I mean, the GCCs are still competing each other. The same talent pool you're going to get from different places. So workplace, the quality of workplace matters. So having said that, I think each real estate developers, it's not something JLL developed. I think it is, like I said, I think as an industry, we are prepared to handle what is coming and what is reality also, because now the requirement of workplaces are really way ahead, and they need a lot of a collaborative space, and it's not simply about somebody coming daytime sitting there all the time, and they look for other amenities, and this is within the workspace. But at the same time, the quality of the larger infrastructure expectations are changed because the developers are preparing in such a way that like their campuses takes care of their larger requirements, not just office coming and going back. I think so. So these are reality and quality of the space and the IT campuses. You would have seen maybe 10 years back versus now. The campuses you get in, the experience you get is different. That's because a lot of quality companies have come with a lot of high-end expectations and our talent also want better space.
Thank you. Thanks. In fact, like I should thank GLR has been a wonderful partner for Dexian. He's been doing a fantastic job. So I just wanted to move on to the GT space with Mr. Jaspreet Singh. In fact, it's aptly said the GT is an advisor for us in GCC. So that means that like you guys have a lot more information to share. So the Indian market, everybody talks about it, and which means that like there is something which we have done right and becoming an evolving leader, building the global capability centers here. What according to you is that like that changed the movement to the GCC, and how do we navigate to the future? That's a moot question which comes up.
So thanks to the Dexian team for having us here. I think who would have thought that 10 years ago we'll be sitting in a room full of people talking about GCCs, talking about India, and talking about innovation, right? It all started with, everybody knows this, Texas Instruments, Amex, one of the starting companies. It was all about cost arbitrage. Today, I think the unique advantage, and I think Shrikant alluded to it also, there are 4-5 things I think that are going very well for India from a GCC perspective. Gone are the days when companies would be on the borderline saying GCC or not, if yes, Philippines, Indonesia, LATAM, India, where do I go? I think the choice, almost, I'm hoping everybody reads papers here. Pick up a newspaper and every week you have a new GCC opening up a center in India, right? And starting with directly 500, 1,000 people, the reason is obviously number one, the kind of talent that we have available, right? India produces the maximum number of engineers in a calendar year, right? And add to that our capability to understand technology like AI, ML, and all of those pieces. I think number one, that's a huge, huge advantage that we give to any GCC. To back it up, if you look at the world's largest smartphone maker today, their entire chip design is being done in Bangalore. The world's largest connected car, their entire software is being written out of a center in Gurgaon. The planes that everybody sits in, 60% of their autopilot is between Bangalore and Hyderabad, the software that they use. So clearly there is a innovation quotient that has taken us there. But second is government policies, right? A lot of state governments have woken up, have announced huge incentive schemes for organizations to come up centers in India, including, tax, relaxations, etc., etc. I think third is our ability to be serving the entire world and being right at the center of it, right? If you take the follow the sun model, we cover all time zones across the world. That's a huge, huge advantage that we have. Last but not the least is obviously the cost arbitrage, and the cost of setting up a GCC in India is still one of the lowest as compared to anywhere in the world. And if you look at any new policy, whether it is the AI use policy that the government is coming up with, all of these policies also aid the GCCs in coming to a country where there is forward-looking happening.
Okay, fantastic. In fact, you touched one point, especially the legal and the compliance side of it. So legal and compliance challenges are there in a new country. And do you see in India is a complex structure in terms of the legal and compliances? Or do you see people, it's making it ease of business, or how do we navigate to that one?
So I think we've come a long way, but we still have bits and pieces to go. Otherwise, so many GCCs would not be entering India. But there are few considerations I think that we still need to look at. For example, The panel before this spoke about data privacy, cybersecurity laws. We've passed our Data Privacy Act 11th of August 2023. The rules are still awaited, so enforcement could be better. Whether look at labor laws, whether look at compliances around transfer pricing, etc. I think there is still some work to be done. And obviously, if you look at the ease of doing business that the government publishes, I think from somewhere in the 80s to top 20s, I think there's a lot of work being done. But obviously, if you come and talk to experts around the entire regulatory compliance piece, it becomes much easier to navigate the entire system.
So who can answer better than the GT in that space, right?
So I did not want to say the name of the company, but yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot. And of course, the legal side of it, which you touched, and especially the transfer price side of it, will be the better person to answer than NV Balaji. Being a chartered accountant initially and became a CBDT a lawyer after that part of CBDT, I would probably touch this one particular subject, Balaji, the evolving regulatory compliances, especially is it hampering the growth, and the transfer pricing in per se is a lot of gray area. And typically for somebody who is not a tax away, or somebody who is not completely into that one, it becomes scary at point of time. And people like me need to constantly educate, which is very difficult to catch up with the changes which are happening. So,
I should say, thanks for inviting here. I should say, in as much any of GCC or any associates in India would look for lowering the tax in India, the government at the simultaneous position, they don't want to give up the share of profits in India being taxed in India. And obviously the reason it results in the transfer pricing adjustments. In fact, the largest of the litigation in India is only transfer pricing. All the more, the responsibility is put on the associates to establish that the transactions that they do is at arm's length. And that adds the problem. And what is looked for is, you will have to establish that if you are transacted with somebody who is not connected with you, what price you would have paid is the price you should have paid or received in respect of the services. With parties who are related, the challenge is certainly on the higher side. Although different methods have been given by the government, the challenge is certainly on the GCCs to specifically show that their transactions are arm's length. I think greater responsibility rests with the Indian companies.
okay, but my view is like kind of beyond the transfer pricing, because the other side of the, when they deal with the parent from here, there also it's getting taxed, and here also it's getting taxed. That's where the double taxation avoidance, we say it's DTA, but like it becomes double taxation at some point of time.
In fact, we have, as you point out, we have an interesting issue where, the global profits of, one of our clients, globally they are incurring loss. The government of India says, no, in India you should have made profit. That's the situation. So each of the country is fighting for its own share of tax. Notwithstanding, globally the organization may not be sound, may not be making huge profits. Each country definitely looks for its share of tax. That's all the more challenge, sir.
Okay. And taking to the, from a transfer pricing angle to the next one, the intellectual property, which is also one area where it's a lot of disputes which are happening. When the contribution from GCC is there, what should be the legal framework which we need to kind of comply, so that the parent company is comfortable that the intellectual property resides in the parent company and it does not transfer it over to the GCCs?
I would say primarily it should start with, fixing up as to who will own, as you rightly put it across. Definitely the parent company would like the IP rights be with them. So that should start from who generates or which team generates the intellectual property. So primarily, possibly the employees. If it is through employees, the employment contract should first ensure, it should ensure, the contract terms, employment contract terms very clearly put across that any intellectual property that arises out of the employment should vest with, the employer, and consequently, the business agreement between the Indian employer and the overseas group company, that it passes on seamlessly. So having a tight agreement at all levels is the primary requirement. And periodically to ensure, the contracts do contain such clauses, and it is also reviewed from time to time. That's, I think, the primary thing that any GCC should look for. They should look for adequately protected through terms in every contract where the possibility of IP rights being generated. So that's, I think, the primary key for ensuring the IP rights are duly protected and seamlessly passed on to the person to whom it should really be intended.
Okay. It's interesting to note that like even onboarding an employee at that level, we need to be safeguarding
very much,
for the intellectual property is like something which is like kind of eye-opener for many of us. So we have been working differently altogether. So we thought like it's only cost plus model.
And similarly, this service contract, third parties with whom we get there also.
Okay.
Not just the employees.
Great. Thank you. Thanks, Balaji. And of course, Anand, HDFC has been a key partner for us too, and been working through. The most important critical for any of the GCCs or any of the foreign-owned subsidiaries here, the ADs play a crucial role, authorized dealers. And most of the time is like kind of is a gray area. Who owns the responsibility especially? Is it a client who needs to submit all the documents physically, digitally, or the ADs request for the documents? And more importantly, even if the documents have been submitted, is like kind of, is it been processed, not processed, because there is no transparent system of processing, and who owns the responsibility whether it is processed or not? What's the AD support overall in a GCC companies?
Good question. When we spell the word global, it means a company is planning to spread their wings and to fly across. So as a AD bank, every country has got its own land law. In India, RBI is a regulatory authority. RBI has given clear-cut guidelines for each and every transactions. And it is the responsibility of the AD bank to guide the customer. Customer can focus on business. Chartered accountant is available and AD bank is there. We take care of compliance. It is the responsibility of the AD bank to guide the customer properly. Especially in compliance requirement like soft text filing, EDPMS knockoff, FDA reporting, ODA reporting, all these things, chartered accountant, along with chartered accountant, AD bank supports to close everything.
Okay. But again, the main issue here is the rules are changing every now and then, and somebody has to constantly look for it. And even when it is changing, sometimes like kind of the document submissions become retrospective also in terms of establishing the proof. The more so is like it's not about document submission, it's about the Banking Regulation Act, or it's about the FEMA or the Forex regulations. Everything is like sometimes scary. And the ADs are in a position to advise a lot. So what kind of an advice which comes from AD proactively to the GCC companies, and especially we can talk about HDFC, how do you treat a customer or how do you treat GCC companies and provide them the proactive advices?
GCC companies, they don't need to worry about compliance and other, they don't need to get scared about it. Chartered accountant is already they are supporting. Apart from the AD bank, we are also guiding the customers. Nowadays, all soft text form filing, everything has become digitalized. You don't need to give physical form. So everything can be knocked out through online platform. So transformation has already been taken place. Similarly, for foreign direct investment reporting, it is through firms portal. with the support of chartered accountant, that can also be done. Getting FIRC and other things we will support. But you need to ensure that selecting the correct purpose code is very, very important for all inward remittances. Whenever you are getting, GCC companies are getting inward remittances, please ensure you are getting inward remittances for service related or software exports or any other purposes. Please give the correct purpose code, because changing the purpose code has become very difficult nowadays. RBI is not easily allowing. Please ensure that whenever the remittance is coming in, please give correct purpose code. And if you have any doubt, especially sending the money outside for farm year to remittances, consult with your chartered accountant before you take decisions. Then you approach the bank. We will also guide, because for for import remittances it is very easy. For non-import remittances, documents are entirely different, and RBI is keenly watching this. So we will guide on this regularly.
Okay. Thank you, all of you. But the thing is, like, you all made it very simple. We need at least like kind of not a 30 minutes. To me, it's a 30 months discussion, because after all, the nuances comes into the details. And with the GST introductions, if there is a credit note, we are still stuck in many different loopholes, like a way to go. But the key point here is like touching almost like all those things which are required, and being a key partner. All of you is like help Dexian to build the GCC, because the advices which I got it, the material which I got it from Nasscom or from all these partners, it's immense. And this is the one guiding thing which took us to the next level. And thanks everybody. Over to you, Sapna.
Thank you so much, Kumar sir, and thank you to our panelists.
We are Dexian. In the business for good.